You're hanging out in the House of Sunny podcast, where it's always sunny, mostly because of your host, comedian and YouTuber, Sunny Loman. Want to know what Sunny and her friends are thinking about this week? Well, here she is, Sunny Loman.
Happy New Year, everyone. I'm here alone today with no sidekick or even a newsreader, but that's okay because I have a great guest. I'm totally fan crushing on him. Writer, actor, comedian, Lou Perez. If you don't know who this guy is, you will. I mean, obviously because I'm going to talk to him for the next hour, but also because he's going to be ultra famous someday. He's the head writer and frequent performer over at the very funny, Webby Award-winning YouTube channel, We the Internet TV. You guys have to check it out. It's very political. They do sketch comedy videos once a week, and they do terrific short documentaries too. He has another really funny YouTube channel, Lou and Greg, and his podcast, Unsafe Space, a clever mashing up of comedy and experts on a variety of controversial topics like immigration and sexual harassment. We'll talk to Lou about his work, and then we'll get into some headlines. Hey, Lou, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me. What a great introduction. I don't know if I deserve that.
I think you do. You've got a lot of work going on.
The prospect of being ultra famous one day.
Seriously, you're just
so scary.
You're
so scary.
Well, you better get over that. Paparazzi, no privacy. It's headed your way.
I'll never have to take my own selfies. I'll just have paparazzi do it.
That's right. I didn't think about that as a good solution to have to stop taking the selfies, but all I need is fame, and then I can stop taking the selfies, like Kardashians, right?
Exactly.
So, no, I think so because you really work hard. You work hard. You have so much going on, and you just have really cool things going on, and it seems like I get the sense, and you can tell me more about this, but I get the sense that you're kind of like you're not just the creative here. You're partly kind of part of, I don't know, you didn't co-found We the Internet, but you must be really involved in the week to week kind of getting that video out. And anyway, let's talk about it. But where are you from, first of all?
Sure. I'm from Queens, New York, originally. I spent most of my life in Queens, so. From Queens, New York, went to high school in Long Island, went to college at NYU, and now I'm a Brooklyn guy.
You don't have a very thick accent.
You know what's crazy? I found there's footage of me from when I was 19 years old, and I did like a small stint on a local cable access show, and it was really stupid, and I was stupid. But my accent was so thick. It was so thick and annoying. And it's crazy because I went to school with people from Oklahoma and the South who were determined to lose their accents, and they did. I was never.
You never practiced it. It was probably just being around those people, and like the Southern kind of flattened out your Queens, and then you got some Midwestern in there. And
well, I remember. You know what I think did it? I think part of it was kind of like a little bit of public shame. Like public shaming. I remember being in class, and I was an English major, so just imagine being an English major. Yeah, I'm talking about, Macbeth.
Reading some Shakespeare. Yeah.
And
he's a good guy.
And I have people turning around like, what? What did you say? And then I get all upset, like, oh, what the fuck? You don't understand what I'm saying? I turn into like Rocky Balboa. Or something like that, but it's a funny thing. There are times when it comes out. Like there have been moments if I've been drinking, when it'll come out, or like I'm listening to Billy Joel and drinking red wine. Just that awful accent just comes. You just want to lock it away, but it's there. It's out there. There's nothing you can do about it. Yeah.
Well, I'm from Minnesota, and I don't know that I purposely lost my accent, but I sort of have lost it, and then I moved back. I started picking it up again, and I felt like, oh my God, this is terrible. I can't have this Minnesota accent the rest of my life.
Is that the Fargo accent? Is that legit?
Yeah. When I first moved away, it was right before the Fargo movie came out. That movie came out, and I was watching it, and I thought, this is so fake. It's so overdone. And then I went home for Thanksgiving, and I was like, whoa, that is real. And I just had to get a little distance. But yes, that accent is accurate.
And then everybody was just, feeding human, cadavers into a wood
That's
chipper.
what we do.
You're like, wow, they got it. They got Fargo. This is what it's like.
Yeah, it's just what it's like. We don't talk about it. We're kind of stoic people. But yeah, the wood chipper,
Yeah.
Yeah. The kidnapping.
The kidnapping. Just it's crazy. It's like Venezuela up in it's a cold.
It's pretty socialist actually in Minnesota.
Is it?
It's not too surprising that they might be kidnapping people.
Oh, look at that.
Well, when did you know you wanted to be a comedian, and how did that come about?
Well, in college, I remember.
What'd you go to college for?
Like to be an English major. Originally, I wanted to be a poet. Can you believe
that's a great career.
Wanted to be a poet. Fantastic career. Well, the thing with poets is even like all the great ones, they all have other jobs.
Yeah.
Like no one's just a poet.
Maya Angelou maybe is the exception.
She was an author too, right? So she wrote like,
is that right?
I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings. So
I know nothing about her.
Well, even Shakespeare. Shakespeare was a playwright.
Yeah.
And you have like Wallace Stevens, who's a fantastic poet. I think he worked in like an insurance company. Philip Larkin is probably one of my favorite poets from England. He worked in the library. He was a librarian.
Yeah.
So
it never paid in the history of the world. It's never paid.
Yeah. No, it definitely hasn't paid. And I feel like you could definitely tell when people were just kind of, shitting out like poems like, oh, what's your assignment this week? You just have to write 10 lines of that don't even have to rhyme because we don't, because we're not playing by the rules and all that. So, at some point, I gave up the, my poet, aspirations.
You think that's just lazy when they don't follow the rules? They're just being lazy versus, because it's hard work putting it into the actual structure. That's hard.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I could never, I'm not good with meter and all that and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it definitely anytime like you have constraints, it always makes it, it's a challenge. I think a lot of times that's where a lot of the good stuff comes from. And using it as a bridge to like sketch comedy, it's like, hey, you need to accomplish this thing in say,
right.
in 5 pages or under. You can't just let it, keep going or wow, this, there's a minute here that we need to trim, make it better. So adding like constraints.
Or even stand up. Even just writing a good stand up joke has to be efficient, totally. And you have to use words precisely.
Yeah, there's been so many times where I'll be doing like stand up and I think it's going well. And then later on I'll go and either listen to myself or watch myself. And I'm like, holy shit. Like half of my set was me just like, and that's why, but part of why I'm so fearful of Skype and stuff like that. It's because I feel like, okay, I just did it though.
You just said, never say that. This is radio.
Never.
It's really bad.
Yeah. So,
no pressure.
Yeah. Well, getting back to,
no pressure.
To college.
Yeah.
Getting back to college. Yeah. At some point, I remember, I think it was after I came back, I studied abroad in Madrid, Spain for a semester. And when I came back, just kind of on a whim, I was like, hey, I want to try improv. I've never tried improv before. And then I saw an ad for an improv group. And I went, and it was like a practice group that later turned into a group. It was called at first Camp Anawana Swim Team, which was a reference to Salute Your Shorts, which I don't think anybody, if you're under the age of 35, probably knows. And then from there, that led to doing sketch comedy, and then to the performing at the UCB Theater. And when I first started, I didn't think that I was going to have a career in this. I thought I was, going to be an English major and maybe teach English or go to grad school and keep going to grad school until something, till something major happened, like I wrote a book or something like that. But Yeah, that's how I got here.
And then you
15.
started doing videos with your friend Greg on
Yeah.
YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And I just saw your video for the first. I mean, I've watched a lot of the We the Internet videos over the last year, and I think I've seen a few of your Lou and Greg ones as they've kind of come through my timeline.
I don't
But
mean to correct you. I don't mean to correct you, but my longtime partner, Greg, who's the second love of my life, he's gonna be really upset.
Is it Greg and Lou?
It's Greg and Lou. It's Greg
That's
and
right.
Lou.
It's Greg and Lou.
Yeah.
No, to me, it's Lou and Greg, but that's okay.
Oh, well,
We'll have Greg on, and then it can switch.
That's the way I see it.
Today, it's Lou and Greg.
I need to make sure my partner's happy. So, we let
you
him.
guys are so funny. He's so funny. I was just watching his Game of Thrones ones where he played the accountant who's telling the White Walker
like
he's wasting resources. Oh my God, it's so funny. So,
yeah,
but
that was a fun one.
The funniest one is, it was a huge viral hit, is when you guys go in to buy mutant powers and you have a choice between either the adamantium claws or regeneration. And you don't get to have both. You pick one, and you guys pick the claws. And then, of course, your bodies don't recover. And it's the funniest. And it was so well done, too. The special effects in it are great. And it's so funny. And I just saw that for the first time yesterday. I just was over there just kind of checking out some of the videos I hadn't seen. And really, really funny.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's that's our magnum opus.
It really is.
That one, I think it has
millions of likes or views.
Close to it's been. I think the original one has close to 19 million views on YouTube.
That's a big video,
and it's been ripped so many times. One thing that's really fun is to see all the foreign people who have ripped it and then dubbed it in Russian or China or Chinese.
Yeah.
So that's fun. But you know what? The thing, what sucks is it's, obviously Greg and Lou are partners on YouTube, so we get advertising money. And recently, I guess our Wolverine's clause was flagged and demonetized. So I don't know if it was demonetized fully, but it's now in a state where only certain ads can be played on it. And that's
Is
such a bummer.
Is it because of the gore, or do you know why?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, because of the gore, even though it's not, it's not real blood.
No, and it's not. It's not even that gory. It's really just enough to kind of get across the point that you're injured.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
And funny.
And it's, obviously it's a touchstone to a really, famous character, Wolverine. I mean, there's so many Wolverine movies, X-Men movies. So we were really bummed out because I think when we got notice of it, it was at, 18 million views. And then, we heard that it was going to be demonetized, and there was another 80,000 views. And I'm like, oh my God, there's so many, so many views. And I'm sure there's an advertiser out there who'd be into it. Maybe Marvel,
right.
But yeah, that one's a really fun one. And when I look back at it, we look so differently too. I didn't really have a beard at the time.
You're so young. Yeah. And it wasn't that long ago. Wasn't that long ago.
Young and nubile.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
So you guys still do some stuff on there, but you're not as active on there as you were. You're obviously really busy over at We the Internet, doing a video a week, right? Yeah.
We do a video a week, and what's great about working with We the Internet is I do get to collaborate so much with Greg. Greg will direct and also edit.
Oh, he's also working at We the Internet.
Dude, he's like a quadruple threat when it comes to what he's able to do. He's a great writer, great actor, director, editing. He does it all. He's really awesome. The thing that sucks is he's in LA and I'm back in New York. I was in LA for 4 years, and we were working together and did another Greg and Lou live show and a few other Greg and Lou projects. But because of the job being here on the East Coast, I moved back. So anytime we get to collaborate, it's always really special. He's actually in town until this Friday, so we gotta make some more stuff together.
So tell me about We the Internet and how you got involved with them.
Yeah, I got involved with it. Just kind of a random occurrence. I have two friends of mine, Ted and Courtney Balaker, who you may have heard of the movie Little Pink House. They produced that, and they also produced the documentary "Can We Take a Joke?" And they're fantastic. And
I'm familiar with the second one.
yeah,
Yeah.
first it's great. Is it Catherine Keener or Kathleen Keener? Catherine Keener is the lead actress. She plays is it Suzette Kilo? Sorry guys, I wish I had all the information that at my hand. I probably got all of that wrong. It's probably not even like they're was making mistakes on that. But they had this little like a 1-day seminar about filmmaking, and I went to it. And one of the years that I went, they introduced me to Lana, who is now my coworker, and they said, "Hey, you're looking to do political comedy and sketch comedy. Well, Lou does sketch comedy," and from there we just kind of brought it together. I'd always wanted to bridge political comedy with the other comedy that I've done.
You have.
And yeah, the internet's just been a great way.
Why have you wanted to bridge that? Because me too, but that's dangerous, like I started out in 2010 making videos, and I started out making political videos. Mm-hmm. I didn't even go like any other route, but I knew that it would sort of close doors,
Right. You know what? Actually, I probably have to take that back. I don't know if I ever really wanted to do it. I'd done it a little bit. We on the Greg and Lou site. There's a video. You
just didn't think it through.
Yeah,
you're like, now I've closed all these doors. What the hell?
Oh my god, what am I doing?
I'm now blacklisted everywhere and demonetized. And
right. I think like the most political video I had done, like with Greg and Lou, was during the re-election campaign for Barack Obama, and I had voted for Barack Obama the first time around. But the second time around, it seemed like the thing on everybody's mind was, if we do not elect him again, the world is going to end. So I did a video asking people, saying people that I don't just want 4 more years, I want 4,000 more years of Barack Obama. Because that's the only way to stave off the plague, for AIDS, not to go airborne, for all these terrible, terrible things. So that was the most
at the time you didn't think Trump. You didn't. It's the only way to prevent Trump. Oh my God.
Who thought about it? Which is
the plague.
It's funny, like definitely when you're talking about, doors closing and stuff like that. Now I don't know necessarily if any doors have been closed because of my political leanings or the stances that I take in my political comedy. But then again, not a lot of doors were opening when I wasn't doing it. So yeah. I don't really have a measuring stick. Like things are going really well. Like I'm really happy. I have a fantastic dream job for a comedian. But my dad is an immigrant from Argentina, and he told me, like oftentimes when we would be on the phone, he'd be like, because I was living in Hollywood, and I'm going to do his accent now, just in case, just for anybody who knows my dad, this is how he sounds exactly. So he's like, "Roy, you got to be careful with what you say. Be careful because the business you're in." Right. So that's that's my dad. Like he's very worried. He's very worried about that.
Yeah.
But the other, it's sort of like the opposite happened. I found that when I was being more just honest, like, hey, this is how I see the world. Check it out. This is what I think. And, more people were gravitating to the stuff that I was doing and watching it. And then I was booking more live shows and stuff like that.
That's great.
Yeah. So it's been a really fun thing.
I would rather be on this side now politically in comedy because they've killed comedy on the left. I mean, no one can say anything on the left, the PC stuff. I mean, I would hate to be a comedian that has to pander to the SJWs and and you're seeing it even with the big names.
Well, Well, I think, one of your goals if you're doing comedy, and I don't want to speak for everybody, but I think this one is pretty just self-evident. It's like you want to be original. You want to bring your vision, your perspective of the world and share it. Like, hey, this is like, if everyone was supposed to talk about dating, you're going to have, if you have 10 comics talk about dating, you want to have 10 different perspectives. You want to 10 interesting things. And I feel like there's such a glut of comedy, whether it's late night shows or what have you, where it's just like, we know what the punchline is.
Yeah.
You know what your stance is. And I like being fooled. Like I just saw there's a little clip from, I think Dave Chappelle's has like 2 more specials coming out on Netflix. And it was a clip about him going to vote and meeting poor white Trump voters. Right. And, I'm watching, I'm like, oh, is this going to be the same thing? Yeah. And then at the end, not giving anything away because I couldn't do it justice because Dave Chappelle's, a genius. The punchline at the end is like, oh man, that's so fucking good that
thank God that he didn't go. But even his, what did he do? I think it was his SNL thing. He was actually kind of making fun of Obama a little bit, and which you hadn't heard for 8 years. No one's made fun of Obama for 8 years. Dave Chappelle gets up, and of course it was equal opportunity for him. He leans left, but he wasn't afraid to poke fun at the Democrats. And yeah. It's weird because you would think about it like, look, especially if you're in control, right? And go out on a limb and say that most people in, comedy and who had TV shows at the time of the 8 years of Obama's tenure, like, you guys are in control. You agreed with them. Like, what a great opportunity that is to shit on the guy who you love. Like, go for it. It's like if I talk about my parents in stand up, like I have this whole bit about my mom and dad. They both have very heavy accents. I did the impression of my dad earlier, for those of you just tuning in. My dad has this really heavy South American accent. My mom has this really heavy Queens accent. And I feel bad because I know they love each other so much, but they can't understand each other.
their accents limit the kinds of sexual role playing they can do. And I know
it's always an Argentinian and a Queens girl.
Dude, it's always
the same thing every time.
Always a gardener. My mom is, always like a single mom from Long Island. It's just the worst, you know. But I get to make fun of my parents because I love them, and I feel like you need to be able to hold even those who you worship, I guess, up to a higher standard, up to at least the same standard. Let's make fun of everyone.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, comics find material from their values, and then also though there's kind of that tradition of, at least in the last 40, 50 years, of taking it to the man. And the man is who's in charge. And so, it's just sad that they've kind of given up that. I don't know if it's sad. What it is it's an opportunity. So anybody who's not, towing that line, those are going to be the funny people in the world. And everybody else is just kind of losing the funny. I mean, I'm capable of laughing at jokes that I don't agree with politically. Very capable of that. I spent years laughing at Jon Stewart on The Daily Show. I thought he was great. He was really funny. And now it's like nothing makes me laugh when I watch these Samantha Bee or Trevor Noah. They're not funny. Right.
Well, I think Trevor Noah is definitely not funny. Samantha Bee has made me laugh in the past, especially I think when she was doing stuff on The Daily Show.
When she was doing stuff with Jon Stewart, she was funny.
Yeah, like I remember enjoying that. Like
on her new show, she's just kind of like shrill and kind of, I don't know. It's so bad. I'm ready to imitate her and do.
How can you say that? How can you call another woman shrill?
Is that sexual harassment?
What's wrong with you?
No, that's terrible. Girlfriend, I was gonna say shrew, but
yes, queen. Whatever the hell that is. Yes, queen. I don't know. It's just,
and I'm working. I want to impersonate her. It's so she's such a thing. She's such a specific kind of horrible, annoying personality now. And I don't know. if you like Hillary, I guess you like her. But that's it. Like, you really have to genuinely like Hillary, not pretend to like Hillary.
Right. Well, I remember. I think it was. I forget how long ago. Excuse me. There's a siren in the background. How long ago there was like a little bit of a controversy because Samantha Bee. I guess she lives on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, and they were looking to combine, I guess, her kid's school with another school, and the other school was, I think, more of a. I don't know if it was a failing school or whatever, but it definitely had a much larger proportion of, minority and poor kids. And, people tried to say like, oh, they must be racist for what they're, for not wanting their kids to go to school with, poor black kids. And, having seen criticisms like that before, you're like, no, they probably just want their kids to go to school at the good school. But you could very easily see that being turned around if it were, say like a conservative saying, no, I don't want my kids to be going to school with this underperforming school. I don't know how much, I don't know how good of a piece that was, but
you think that, like, you're saying there's a hypocritical nature to the, yeah.
Well, I think there's definitely hypocrisy, but I think what that example shows, it's like, hey, you know what? Maybe if you could understand why, these progressive parents wouldn't want their, this happening to their kid's school, maybe you can understand why a conservative parent wouldn't want this happening to the school. That maybe it doesn't have to do with race or, or economics. Maybe it just has to do with, no, I just want my kid to go to the best performing school that's right. Possible. Now, I don't know if I don't watch her show enough to know if she ever, made that claim against somebody else. Perhaps she did. She probably didn't. But obviously if she did, then it's like, oh, well, there's a hypocrisy. And,
I see what you're saying. Yeah. I think a lot of people on the left, I mean, you're right. They come from the same place, and it's just a difference in how they think that it would be implemented. I mean, people on the right tend to want school choice, less government control. That's what they think makes better education. And then people on the left think the government's got to get involved, take out all competition. That's how we get better education.
Right. Yeah. I remember there a few years back, there was that interview I think Reason was doing where they went down to like a school choice rally, or I think it was maybe the opposite of that. And they interviewed Matt Damon, and Matt Damon was, a very big proponent of public schools. And I guess his mom was a teacher. And, the reality is it's like, well, Matt Damon, last time I heard, his kids are going to private school. It's like his kids aren't even they're not even in that same pool. They're not swimming in that same pool as like public school kids. And isn't it amazing that he has that choice for his children on where they go to school? I would love that choice to be
for everybody,
to be there for everybody. Yeah. Right. And look, when you're talking about like $12,000 a year per kid, and a lot of that payment, I guess, is going to school administrators more than anything. Like, wow, there's so much you can do with $12,000 when it comes to education. And I went to Catholic high school, and I forget how much tuition was every year, but it was nowhere near 12 or 13 grand at the time.
Yeah, and I think that's a national figure too. So in the big cities, it's probably even more than that. I went to inner city public school. And it was terrible. It was terrible.
Which, in
Minneapolis, yeah.
Minneapolis.
I mean, central Minneapolis, where it was, I think I ended up in a public school kind of toward the suburbs, but they were busing kids from all over. I mean, we had horrible teachers. And I think, like, I remember maybe one or two teachers from my entire K through 12 experience that I actually liked and maybe learned something from. And so that's the reality, is you do a lot of self-educating or you kind of just don't learn anything. And I'm a big proponent of school choice, but I think too, like, it doesn't have to be $12,000 a year. And where you see competition in education, it's cheaper, like online and things like that.
Yeah. And something that I think a lot of people miss is just the reality that teaching is a difficult profession, and to be a great teacher is such a gift. There's always that, what's that saying, those who can't teach. And it's like, that's such a bullshit claim. Like I can count on my hand the amount of, the number of fantastic teachers I had in public school at, PS 151, where in Queens, in Woodside, Queens, where I grew up. And in high school,
it's a real skill.
Oh, it's amazing. So
and it has such a big impact. I mean, if you really wanted to go into a profession that made a difference, and here we are, like making videos, trying to make a difference,
making a difference.
Yeah,
man. We're
right.
the teachers now. We're the teachers now, man.
Meanwhile, like a really good teacher is seriously changing lives every year.
Yeah. Well, since I've had great experience, I've had great experience with amazing teachers, and I'm also I excelled in school. I was a great student. I got a scholarship to NYU.
Oh, that's
right?
Great.
So I hold like a little bit higher standards when I'm judging people, where it's like, most of you people teaching shouldn't be teaching. Like you shouldn't be let anywhere near children.
Right.
And I don't mean it in a creepy way. I just mean in that, you're not, you don't have
They don't
it.
care about it.
Don't care about it, or you don't have that skill.
Right.
So, yeah, I think it was probably like at some point last year they were talking about making either getting rid of a standardized test for teaching, or dropping the requirement or something like that, like the passing.
So teachers could be dumber.
And it's just like, come on, man, you gotta hold those people to higher standards. And also, I have a brother who is a teacher in high school, and he's a teacher and a dean in high school. So he teaches English, and he absolutely loves teaching English. Like he gets excited about it. And when when you're hanging out with him, he loves just going into what his lessons are and all that. But a big part of his time is being a dean. And I guess there's a lot of behavior issues and stuff like that he's always dealing with. And it's like, man, that sucks. Here's a guy who wants to teach, but so much of his time is spent dealing with, rowdy jerks. And
meanwhile, does he have 10 administrators above his head too?
I have no idea. But you know what? There is a good chance that even though he loves teaching and it's his calling and his vocation, there's a chance that he sucks. I have no idea.
That's right.
That's always a possibility too. Like, you have people like, oh my God, I just love ice skating and I love doing this or doing that. And then you watch them, you're like, wow, but you suck at it. Like you can love it. But you're hoping at least you're not affecting children, in some way. But if my brother, as much as I love my brother, if he sucks as a teacher, get rid of him, can him, let him do something else.
Screw your brother.
Yeah, but I think he's great. Yeah, screw my brother.
My mom was a teacher. Screw her. She probably sucked. Yeah. Back to We the Internet. So they also have combined these documentaries. I mean, just kind of speaking of serious issues, and the one that they did on free speech on Brown did really well. Yeah. And why do they do that? What do you know about? They want comedy. They want serious stuff. What's their mission? Yeah. What are they doing?
Well, I think when it comes to our mini documentaries and the one for Brown, there's one for Brown and one for Yale in the Silence You series. And big reason why we feature those, serious docs is
they're serious, but they're fun. I mean, they're not, I wouldn't say fun. They're well done to the point that they're really consumable, interesting to watch.
Yeah, Rob Muntz,
does he do the whole thing?
Well, he does great work on it. Erin O'Connor, my boss, she's like a fantastic producer and really is able to hone that material to bring it to where it needs to be. So it's a great collaborative effort between Rob, Erin, and I was fortunate to check in on some on some early cuts and stuff and just give my 2 cents.
Cool.
But yeah, I think more than anything, if there's one issue that we are, willing to die on a hill for, it's free speech.
Right.
And because obviously without it, we, wouldn't be able to do with what we do. And when it comes to free speech, it's not just, well, you have a First Amendment right for this, or you have a First Amendment right for that. It's getting beyond that and explaining why it's so important for the culture to have a culture of free speech. Brendan O'Neill is a friend of mine who is the editor for Spiked. It's an online magazine out of Britain, and then they've opened up an office here in the States. So they're going to be doing a lot more features stateside, which is great. And he's the one who really got me hip to that idea. It's like, in the U.S. we are so fortunate to be able to go back to the Constitution, to the Bill of Rights, the First Amendment, to say, no, you have a right to do this because it's outlined, because it's clearly stated here in the Constitution. But what happens is you might not have that conversation of why it's so important culturally. And him being English, he constantly has to remind people why free speech is so important, because it's not protected there. So I love that speech is protected here. That's fantastic. But we should act like it's not protected. And because
it sure feels like it's not protected these days. I mean, because maybe government's not yet coming down hard on it, but socially, it's definitely not protected. People lose their jobs. People are getting harassed.
Yeah, and also, we forget all of the battles when it comes to the First Amendment. How long it took us to get here. And FIRE, the Foundation for Individual Rights and Education, they're amazing. They have I think a little library on their website where you can go and track, like, here are all the monumental free speech cases. Yeah,
there's that, and then there's campus. What is it? Campus something.org.
Reform?
Yeah, is it Campus Reform? And then there's another organization run by students. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on it. But it's so exciting to see so many organizations kind of standing up for this stuff now. But then you also simultaneously we watch what happened at Evergreen with I mean the two teachers, Brett and his wife, they're gone.
Brett Weinstein, yeah.
They got a little payout. It's not even a big payout. It's a little payout and they're gone.
Yeah. And something like I would put Brett Weinstein. Then we have Laura Kipnis out of Northwestern University, and then you have Jordan Peterson.
Right. Some Canadians are getting in on the action too. They don't have the free speech stuff, but the girl from Whittier.
Shepherd, Lindsay Shepherd.
Yeah.
What Warrior? Is it Warrior?
Yeah.
Warrior something.
Warrior, yeah.
Yeah. But here you have like Brett, Laura, and Jordan. Here you have, three academics where I doubt I would have ever heard of them had it not been for the controversies that found them. Because the controversy found them. They were just being, who they are, and perhaps saying things that are a little controversial, but you expect to hear that in school. And having checked out,
that's a really controversial statement. What you just
said. Right?
Yeah,
isn't that insane? So having watched Jordan Peterson's videos on YouTube, and he has just tons of material available there. Having read Laura Kipnis's book Unwanted Advances, all about Title IX stuff and how it's used on college campuses, and having listened to Brett Weinstein on his appearances on Joe Rogan, and I'm just like, oh my God, I long for the days when I was in college, knowing what I know now, where the idea that there are students out there lucky enough to study with these three minds is fucking incredible. And what's the name too? Christakis from Yale.
Yeah.
And these are people I don't agree
Gad
with.
Sad do you know Gad Sad? Yeah.
And I don't agree with them on all of their stuff. Laura Kipnis is an outspoken anti-capitalist. Okay, I'm a capitalist pig. Right.
Brett Weinstein is a deeply progressive, quote unquote, person.
Yeah. And he, but you hear him talk about evolution, and it's like, oh my God, like like I said, it's incredible the experience his students must have had studying with him.
Yeah.
And at Evergreen,
and by all account, that's what they say. He was like one of the favorite teachers year over year, and the people who knew him, the students who had him, were devastated by this whole thing. They lost a good teacher to the mob.
Yeah, and I got to see Laura and Brett on a panel that Spike did they did an unsafe space tour, and they stopped over in New York at New York Law School, and they were on the panel, and it was like, man, they're spending so much of their lives talking and defending themselves against the controversy than doing what they love. Mm-hmm. Whether it's talk about evolution or talking about films. Laura is such a badass fucking writer. Oh my God. I read Unwanted Advances, and then I reached out to her, and I was like, look, I'm a fan now. What should I read next? And she has this book called Men, an Investigation. And I went and at first I'm like, all right, I'm going to buy it because she recommended it. It's her book. But I went in thinking like, oh man, it might just be men getting beat up. What is this going to be? And what she writes, she profiles, male characters, like Larry Flint is in one chapter. She does another one on a David Mamet film called House of Games. And she's such a great writer, and everything is complicated. The love-hate is there. It's so complicated. And it's so refreshing to be able to read somebody who looks at the world that way. And she has one line where she said to this guy, she said, I don't know if I want to fuck you or be you. And oh my God.
Yeah.
That's that. Well, I'm an English major. I fall in love with lines like that.
So she's just able to, she's openly and fearlessly exploring her own mind. And
oh yeah. Yeah. She's got.
And is getting in trouble for that. It's just shocking to me that that's even controversial. I mean, I don't know if do you know who Camille Paglia is?
Oh, I love Camille.
So here's another person I pretty much disagree with politically about everything. But I've actually been a fan of hers since I was a teenage girl. And she's just free. She's so intellectually. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Sonny, I'm sorry. I think you cut out just a little bit. You were talking about Camille.
Yeah, I was just saying she's so intellectually free. And here she is today. She's a feminist, but she's really critical of the current wave of feminism and being, very anti-free speech. She's critical, whether you agree with this or not, she's critical of the transgender pronouns, and she's but she's a full-blown Bernie supporting socialist, Right. So, but these are all people that are just very interesting to listen to and to learn from, or they stimulate your mind and make you think about things. And it doesn't threaten me that she doesn't agree with me about everything. I don't know why it seems like today agreement is the most important thing for these students on campus.
Well, two things. For one, my fiance had the honor of studying with Camille Paglia when she was an undergrad at University of the Arts. So she was in class with Camille Paglia.
That's amazing.
She said,
she's so intense.
Oh yeah, my fiance. My fiance was a dance student, so she went to get a degree in dance, and she said that her wrist was so in such pain trying to write and keep up with
she talks
Camille
so fast.
Paglia. Yeah. And and I think you bring up a really good point about you don't agree with her on everything, but she is fearless in what she has to say. I like being surprised. I like learning new things. I like coming across lines like, I don't know if I want to fuck you or be you.
Yeah.
I need that. I need that kind of excitement when it comes, especially when it comes to arts, when it comes to comedy, when it comes to everything. I want that excited. Make me excited. I don't want to read the same shit.
Surprise me. Yeah.
Yeah. Surprise me. And
make me think. It's that's the kind of stuff that makes you think.
Yeah. And you know what? It's like, wow, Brett Weinstein and his ideas as far as, moving forward, as a society, like what what has things like Facebook done to us,
Yeah.
or what will the results be? And hey, should we curb it? Oh, what way should we curb it? Should
Yeah.
it be, oh God, what's that one book? I forget. Not Tug. Whatever.
Nudge or
Nudge. Yeah. Should there be a nudge?
Should we be
or should it
nudged? I'm actually on a 7-day social media detox.
That's so important.
I'm in day 2 right now, and I've never done this before. I can confirm that it's an addiction. Like I'm on day 2, and I feel like I used to smoke. I feel like I just quit smoking. I'm kind of fidgety, and like I think about it a lot, and I feel like I'm missing out. Like my brain keeps reminding me go to. I took it all off my phone. I took all the apps off my phone.
That's so smart.
I can't go there. I'm only allowing myself email and access to my professional page and Messenger. That's it.
Yeah.
And I'm excited. I'm day 2. I'm really excited. I feel like I'm going to be more productive.
Oh, 100%. I did, back in October, I kind of went cold turkey, but what I did was, I used to be, I am addicted to Twitter and Facebook.
This stuff is terrible. You're really great on Twitter, by the way. When we're going to talk about Iran in just a minute, and I retweeted one of your tweets. I'm not even on Twitter, and I retweeted one of your tweets. I'm like, I'm going over to Twitter and I'm retweeting this. I saw it on Facebook.
Oh, nice.
And, but it was, I'll just say what it was right now. It was the video of the woman in Iran who took off her hijab and she's waving it.
Right.
And you said, was this at the Women's March?
Yeah. Because I was at the Women's March, and I don't remember.
I remember them putting on hijabs. Oh,
like
my God.
The American flag hijab.
A women's march, like you call yourself a feminist, and one of your sponsors promotes a female oppressing ideology, and they're putting on hijabs. Like, that's just cute.
Right.
Like, it's so cute.
Yeah. Well, my experience was, I went down there to cover, if you will, the Women's March of the
Did you wear a pussy hat? Or would you get beat up for wearing a pussy hat?
No, I didn't wear a pussy hat. I actually had a tiara with little dicks on it, actually, that I wore around.
I'm sure they loved that.
I think the ladies liked it. It was like self-emasculation. So they're into it. But, I had this weird experience where I went down for the inauguration, and I was so disgusted by like Antifa and the Black Bloc, and even what's his name, Richard Spencer getting punched, and it was such a gross vibe down there that I was like, oh man, is this what my country is going to become?
At the Women's March, it was a gross vibe.
Well, the one thing when I was down there with the Women's March, it was, at least my experience of it, it was all positivity, and there was a lot of laughter, and obviously just like 1 million people came down there, and it was only later that when you start hearing like, oh well, do you know who the organizers are? Then it's like, so you have like Linda Sarsour.
Yeah, she's horrible.
Then you had this woman who spoke there, who literally was part of a kidnapping of a gay man and a murder.
Puerto Rican woman or something like that.
Or something like that. And then you have another one who's just been, I think, deported because of ties to terrorism. Yeah. And you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah. It's kind of like Black Lives Matters, like these sort of, I would say, I don't know if I would say that the people who are blocking traffic and stuff are decent people, but some people think there's a cause there. But if you look at the organizers and the people who founded it, they're just deeply Marxist. They're like college intellectual level Marxist nihilists. Right. And those are the people who founded Black Lives Matters. People don't care, I guess.
Yeah. For me, like, like if you take like a group like the Black Panthers and stuff, looking back, like, I think the Black Panthers should have been allowed to open carry in California. I totally support open carry. Thought that was a bitch move on Ronald Reagan's part. But basically what happened after, they got rid of open carry. It wasn't just the Black Panthers couldn't open carry. everyone couldn't open carry in California. So that's like a little detail that people forget. But look, if you're fighting oppression, I'm with you. I am for you. But can you do it without allying
Oppressing
yourself?
people?
Well, yeah, do it without allying yourself with Mao Zedong,
Right.
without allying yourself with Fidel Castro or Che Guevara. Like, do it, like fight oppression without allying yourself with oppressors. And, I think a similar thing. And
calling for oppression. And it's the same thing with the hijab.
Yeah.
That is an oppressive garment. It is.
Well, so look, I personally, if I see a woman's hair, I just can't control myself.
Yeah.
So
I can tell
it's a way to keep me at bay.
Well, that's what it is.
That's right.
It's for the men.
It's for the men. That's right. But yeah, I feel like there are so many groups where I think there are people involved with the greatest of intentions, but then you look at, like what their demands are, and you're like, I can't get behind you on this one. I'm sorry. I'll be over here. You
have these young women going to the march, the Women's March, and they're kind of ignorant. They don't really know. They certainly don't know the organizers. And, isn't it fun? There's a little group here trying on hijabs. And isn't this just cute? We're just appreciating other cultures. And then you have Iran. These people would die to live in a society. They would die. They are dying to live in a society where they don't have to wear a hijab.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's cuckoo. One of my New Year's resolutions, be a better person.
Be a better person.
be a better person. Yeah. One thing I wanted to say when you were talking about like a social media addiction, over the weekend, my girl and I, we did a little staycation, and there's a spa in Manhattan that we went to for the day.
Nice.
And just looking like what a perfect way to just chill, to just put the phone away, to just get just get out there to be together. And you wouldn't believe how many people kept their phones on them.
You're in the spa and you're seeing people with phones.
In a pool. Sitting on the
what?
In a pool, sitting on the edge of a pool with a fucking phone.
You're kidding me.
Yeah, or people going into like, here is the ether room where you can be more present and one with yourself, and then you look and there's a face lit up with that blue screen. It's like, what the fuck?
Or you're laying there with cucumbers on your eyes and you hear bzz 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 from the next room over.
Yeah, or listening to a podcast or something like that.
Oh my God, people are just in trouble.
It really showed me just how important it is to try to put that stuff away. So
to set it down and walk away.
I made an active effort in October and November. December, I was a failure. I was a crackhead with social media, just on it, just constantly checking.
That was me. I'm like, this has to stop. God. I have got to stop. I wake up and I grab the phone. I'm like, this is crazy. This is like cigarettes. I used to get up, make coffee, sit there, smoke. It was like my morning half-hour, useless, unproductive life. And I've replaced it with Facebook.
Exactly. Well, a book I would totally recommend you read. It's called Deep Work by Cal Newport. And Erin, my boss, who I told you about, she recommended it for everyone, of all of us who work together, to read it. And it's such a great read, because it really puts into perspective how important doing concentrated work is. Like, 3 hours deep work. You're just working. You're not checking you're not taking calls. You're not doing that. And I totally found I think it was like Sundays would be my sabbatical from like no internet whatsoever.
That's cool. You could do that. I mean, but that's crazy that I think that that's unusual to be able to do that one day a week. I mean, I've just totally cut myself off because I've gotten to that point where having a day without it is strange and not, I wouldn't say scary, but just uncomfortable.
Yeah. Well, I think if you give this book a read, and it's really well written, and all that's, it's a page turner. You will see just how much you don't need social media and all that in your life.
And I was listening to a podcast the other day. I think it was a Sam Harris podcast where he had a guy on regarding just Facebook and how a lot of it is to create outrage. It's actually it's the anger that gets you hooked. And that just sounds awful.
Yeah, there was a guy who made a video online. I think it was called like The Tragedy of Jon Stewart or something like that. And my buddy Boris Haken, who writes quite a bit for We the Internet and directs, he sent it my way, and they point out it's sort of like the 24-hour news cycle has created this market for outrage, for sensation, and that's also crept into like late night comedy as well. Yeah, it's sensation, outrage, and I guess an argument can be made that that's also been crept into social media as well. It's just like everything is outrageous, everything is.
But only on the left. Like I've noticed they won't pick up a sensational story that doesn't fit. I hate to use the word the narrative, but it's kind of a good word. There was the story that came out. Politico did that big investigative report about Obama shutting down the investigation into Hezbollah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's sensational. That's very sensational. Nothing. And now you have this Iran thing going on and no one's talking about it. It's not it's just sort of maybe getting some light coverage. And some of the coverage has actually been negative against the protesters. Just unbelievable. Anyway, so I want to know more about the We the Internet process, though. Let's get back to like writing for that. You do a video a week. Yeah. You're the head writer. What's the process?
What's the process? Well, some stuff that we'll do some stuff that is more evergreen, I think, that isn't necessarily commenting on like a breaking news thing or whatever. So we've done things like, is there a cure for lobbying addiction, where we portray politicians as addicts, to lobbyists, and they're just, they have no control of the matter. The money's there. If they don't take the money, then who's going to take the money? So we're able to do stuff like that, and then you have stuff that'll come in.
You have like a newsy show and then you do some more sketch comedy, right?
Yeah, not to be confused with the Newsies, the Broadway musical. So we don't have that. Not yet. Sometimes we'll do like I often do monologues about a topic or something breaking, or we'll do like that fake desk pieces. Where it's we make it seem like it's an actual interview, right? An anchor and two characters. But then
sometimes you have that one like with the Trump campaign people at therapy.
Oh yeah, we did a little series of that where ex-Trump staffers in group therapy.
That one was really funny.
And that was an idea. My buddy Harry Turjanian, who's a great comic, he came up with that idea and wrote the script, and then Greg worked with him on that script to get it where it is, and it's a really interesting thing that happens because you have the label snowflake that's thrown around so much, and when we do a video that's critical of Donald Trump, people think that we're like, oh, you're a Hillary supporter, libtard, all that shit, but then when we do things about critical of like Hillary, it's like, oh, what do you like, Trump?
I know,
and it's
you got to be on one side or the other these days. It's
the way I describe it is like, just because I'm fucking your mom doesn't make me your dad. Like that. That's the way that's the way I try to.
That's a great one.
And that's the thing when you have like these tribes where it's like, oh, if you're making fun of me, you must hate me, or you must be on the other side. It's like, no, I'm just finding something funny in it.
Yeah, right. And there's a lot of funny in all of this. This.
It's chaos. It's
chaos. We are in that period of history where stuff is falling apart. It's chaos. We have crazy shit happening. If you love Donald Trump, you have to admit the dude he's a reality star.
Yeah.
He has created a personality even that is mockable. It is just his look even.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And what'll be even crazier is if like at the end of this 4 years, like good stuff has come out of it.
It seems that a year in and we're like kind of happy with what's happening, right? I mean, nothing horrible's happened.
yeah, you start, like there was a time,
Deregulation has happened.
yeah, there was a time like with the North Korean stuff where I'm like, I put this question out there. I'm like, how many of you would be willing to lose an American city to a North Korean nuke if it meant you could shit on Donald Trump a little more? And I feel like that's something that people might actually have to think about. Like, oh man,
Let's see. That's a thought-provoking comment.
yeah, like oh, maybe there's a town in Minnesota that
We can lose
that we can get
Minneapolis or Fargo.
Exactly.
Just a bunch of wood chipping, crazy kidnappers anyway.
Exactly.
Speaking of Kim
so
Jong-un,
yeah, I am, you got to call out stuff that's bad and call out stuff that's good.
Right.
And try to have some fun with it. Like there's so many people out there who are, they're not acting scared enough for me to get scared.
It's even, I see that too a lot with this FBI thing. Like they really don't care if you really want rule of law and just a situation where you don't have the FBI investigating a president for no reason. You might. I got to be honest. I was not a Trump supporter in the primary. I was a little depressed when he got the nomination. I'm pleasantly surprised at what he's done. I think this investigation is really scary. The fact that it's still going on and there's no evidence and there's no real crime. I say it like this. If you're investigating someone for murder, usually there's a dead body. Like right. Nobody's yet pointed to the dead body and said, here's the crime that we're investigating.
Is there even a dead hooker? Like,
there's not even a dead hooker.
Not even dead. Yeah. That whole stuff. Like, I know I'm supposed to keep up on things that are happening. And for me, it's just, I think it just goes above my head. I think it's very convoluted. I can't really keep track of what's going on. Even, you
have to study it. You have to study that to know what's going on. But I guess, I feel like you can't just I see all these people on the left who are okay with it because it's the means justify the ends. They think Donald Trump's so bad, we have to get him out somehow anyway, even if we sort of sacrifice the rule of law and American law and American ideals to do it.
Yeah, on this one I was just like checking in with Alan Dershowitz, and I'm like, what's Mr. Dershowitz have to say about this? Brilliant attorney, constitutional scholar. And he's received, I guess, a lot of flack by, calling out this business. But then again, I'm like I said,
he's lost friends above my pay grade over it apparently. And
I know. Yeah.
It's not above mine. I make it my business.
Hell yeah. You're going to be, they're going to put you on the stand and ask you what you know.
I'm an expert. I'm going to be called. I'm going to be an expert witness. Listen, I have read Politico and I have read Breitbart. I have a balanced view. So I'm the expert. Speaking of Kim Jong-un, there was a story today that he has said he has a complete nuclear arsenal now that can hit anywhere in the United States. And that he can do this from a button on his desk.
Yeah, the button thing. How much you want to bet? It's just one of those like Staples easy buttons.
I was thinking too. Like they've just given him this button, and they're like, "Here you go."
This Supreme Leader, this will take out
no, don't
the US
push that.
Problem. Yeah, right.
Yeah, the people around him have given him a button.
Yeah. Well. When I was doing the Unsafe Space podcast, we did one on North Korea. Actually, we did the show was I think at 3 p.m. on a Sunday, so it wasn't the best. It wasn't like the biggest turnout, and it wasn't our rowdiest show. Everyone was kind of it was kind of like tea time, doing the show.
Tea time on a Sunday.
Tea time on a Sunday, and we had the two guests that we had were experts on North Korea, and both of them had participated in, I guess what they call it, like back channel talks and things like that in the past. And one thing that this was a couple months ago. So one thing that they put us at ease about was there is talking is happening. There is talks happening. I just wasn't. Yeah, that was just another thing where I was just not that worried, and also what I hate too is, no matter what's happening, between the U.S. and North Korea or Trump and North Korea, Trump is not Kim Jong-un. And,
right.
like, for people trying to compare the two, it's like, no, you're dealing with, Kim Jong-un is a brutal, brutal piece of garbage.
Right.
And
that's why they've given him the fake button. I mean, they're not going to give him a real button.
I hope
he's a crazy person, and everybody around him knows that.
I would love for there to be like a CIA operation where they implant something in him, in Kim Jong-un. So every time he touches the button, he shits his pants. I don't know what it would take.
It works on him.
That would be so worth it.
It's like suddenly he gets stomach cramps. He hits the button. He's like, oh,
shit myself. That's me doing the perfect Kim Jong-un.
That sounds like your
impression.
Father and Kim Jong-un combined.
Yeah, basically they're the same person. The exact same thing. But one thing that came out of the podcast is, you asked the question, like, why does Russia put up with this fucking maniac country? And I think
that's a good question. Or China even, like, why?
Yeah, and I think part of it is like North Korea is kind of the crazy cousin where you don't know what he's going to do. So he kind of keeps other people scared.
I see. It's like a loaded gun that they have around that they can kind of aim at people but do you think they have more control over him than they let on?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe. I don't know. I've never been there. I will never go there. Unless I'm taken there.
Unless you want to come back with a brain injury that kills you. Like that poor guy, that poor American who took the banner.
Yeah, he was exercising his white privilege, according to some people.
Oh my God. Really?
Yeah.
Who said that?
Well, that's when he was first taken. Like somebody wrote like one of those.
Oh, when he was arrested?
Yeah. You're like, oh, white privilege doesn't work over there.
Oh, okay. That only a person who lives in cushy, comfy America could make a comment like that. Like, it's not horrifyingly terrifying to be arrested in North Korea. He's a young kid,
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's one of those things where I think identity politics is a nice cover for psychopaths.
Right.
For people who like to see the suffering of others.
Yeah.
Right. As long as they can mask it, well, you're privileged, or, I'm intersectionally below you. I am oppressed. Therefore, my desire to watch you suffer is acceptable.
Right.
And I've started.
That's those Antifa people.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I wrote an Antifa spoof. I'm going to make a video coming up on that.
Nice. It's easy to get the costume.
I have it. It was really easy. Amazon, little black bandana, little black hoodie.
Balaclava.
Done.
I recommend. Yeah.
That's the new thing, isn't it? They're wearing the balaclavas now. It used to just be a regular bandana. Now it's kind of more of an Islamic scarf.
Ooh, an Islamic scarf. I didn't know that.
The check, the black and white check.
Ooh, well, you were really in deep with the Antifa stuff. I just made that one video.
It's like Antifa porn. I just watch it. I watch them beat people up.
Wow, Antifa porn. Nice. Yeah, everybody. They just like smash, like they fuck through a Starbucks window.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they bang until they.
It's not literally porn, Lou. Come on. Does everything have to be about sex? Figure of speech.
Figure of speech.
No, I've noticed that they're combining the kind of jihad stuff with their outfits lately.
Yeah, it's like, you don't want to look like ISIS, like if that's the message you
do. No, I think they do.
They do.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Well, I'm sure they find like, some solidarity, or they can make some kind of defense of ISIS in some capacity.
So I just want to end on talking about your podcast, Unsafe Space. Because that's also really cool. I really like your format. It's just to tell everybody what it's like. You have comedians that get up, they do some stand-up on a certain topic, and then you have experts. And you're doing this in front of a live audience, which isn't always huge. I think this is such a great format. I want it to be bigger. Like, I want more people to show up, and I want it to be more fun because it's such a good idea. And you've had such interesting guests on. The experts that you have are so great. Yeah.
We're actually going to be doing like transitioning into We the Internet Live, which is going to have like a similar format where we're going to each live show will delve into one particular topic. We'll have videos on the topic, and then we'll have experts and comedians as well, which I think will be a fun one. And we're looking to do.
Is Unsafe Space, the podcast, part of We the Internet?
It used to be. It isn't. It isn't any longer.
Because I thought it was you and another guy.
Yeah. It was. It used to be within, sort of like reformatted, and I've kind of stepped away from it.
Okay.
Get going. Yeah, like doing this different avenue, because it became a little confusing too, because it had like a different name. Whereas now if we can get everything under the, We the Internet umbrella, it's just easier to like, okay, I know that those guys, I know what they're doing. But yeah, it is amazing when you bring together people who disagree with one another, who, are going to argue, but you also make it funny, where you can lighten the mood and you get to really,
diffuse the tension.
Yeah, diffuse the tension and also bring something to audiences that they're not necessarily reading or hearing. And that was when we were in LA doing that. We did the show most of the time from LA, and that was the case. We had mostly audiences who probably to the left of center or maybe all the way on the left, and I get up there as this weirdo. Libertarian, sometimes conservatarian, depending on what we're talking about. And it's like, oh shit, you guys never heard these arguments before. Like, but isn't that great? Like, and
how did that go? Did you get good feedback?
Oh yeah, no, it went great. I mean, there were so many. There's been so many times I have such a paper trail of saying stupid things and then apologizing for it, like in real time. Like I forget which episode it was, but. There were quite a few episodes where I just kind of like put my foot in my mouth and someone called me out and I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. I was wrong. That was stupid. That was really stupid. Okay. Now I got to rethink this. But I think the two of them that were the most heated was our second episode we ever did, which was the feminism episode. And we had Amy Alcon. Do you know Amy Alcon?
No.
Advice Goddess. She's amazing. She's awesome. She was recently on the Joe Rogan Experience. She's so great. So we had her, and then we had, what's her name? And something. Well, the other guest was like a feminist pornographer from England, but also a postmodernist. So it was only our second episode, and at one point I literally had to say, "Ladies, please." It was so ridiculous. And then the other one that was so much fun and really fucking heated was the first episode we did after the election where Trump won. Where we had one of our guests.
That one. I'll have to listen to that one.
Oh, one of our guests, she walked off the stage. She left crying. She left in tears.
She was so upset. Was this a righty or a lefty?
Oh, lefty, yeah. Big, all the way lefty, Occidental college.
She'd never heard anything like what people were saying.
Well, this is how it started. Like, one of the comedians on the show is Ty Rivera. And Ty has been on a number of the Unsafe Space shows. Ty's one of my favorite comedians in LA. I believe he's back in Arizona now and touring and doing that. Ty Rivera, he has a podcast called Unbothered. I love listening to this guy. And Ty is a gay Chicano Trump supporter, right? So just think about that marketing demographic right there. So we have him, he does his set. Then afterwards, we bring up the experts, and we're asking the experts, do you have any, anything you want to say? And the first thing that she opens up with, this guest, she turns to Ty and says, "I just want to say, fuck you." it being a comedy show, we're like, oh, maybe that's a bit.
Funny.
Oh, yeah. She was real about it. And Ty isn't the type of person who's just going to lie down.
Right.
So he went back at her. And it's like, and she said, I'm so sick and tired of having to explain to people, blah, blah, blah. And that's like,
Wow.
but that's why we brought you here.
Yeah, you're here to talk.
You're here to talk about that, to make,
She didn't think anyone would disagree with her? These are professors. This is a professor.
Well, yeah. She's very pretty. She's a very pretty blonde woman. She had some, I don't know if they were arm candy, but these it was at least one strapping young man.
She had an entourage?
A little bit, yeah. And the guy, and after she left crying, he came to the foot of the stage and was like, "You're a blah 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 blah," something like that.
What?
Yeah, it was great. It was
That's
really
great. That's great radio. I got to listen to that.
And then we had, I think one of the positive notes out of it, we had a guy in the audience, really heated exchanges back and forth between the panel and him, and then afterwards he's like, "Thanks so much. I think I really needed that. That really helped me."
Huh.
And so you get stuff like that too, where I think a lot of times, I don't think people are used to confrontation, or at least they're not used to face-to-face confrontation.
That's what it is. It's all done online now, where you can just be a dick and then walk away, and you don't have to listen to anybody else.
Yeah, it's either online or it's done within the mob mentality.
Right.
You get to be one of 50 people shouting chants or or slow or anything like that, and you don't have to look at the other person face to face and be like, "Oh, I'm talking to another human being,"
and get feedback from them.
Yeah. And for them to say, "What do you don't know, I disagree with you. Here's why I disagree with you. You chanting or playing an air horn or trying to shut this down isn't helping you or anybody else."
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You still do stand up?
I do. Yeah. I haven't been grinding as hard as I used to. Just having the full-time gig here, putting out videos, but I'm preparing for got a big show in February. I think it's February 8th. I'm going to be at Liberty Forum 2018 up in New Hampshire. So I'm doing a long set there, and that should be fun.
What's the best way for people to follow you?
They can follow me on Twitter. My handle is Lou on the Subway, or friend me on Facebook, Lou Perez. We have one of my friends is Sunny. So
that's right, and you can also subscribe to We the Internet TV. I think, right?
Oh, please do.
And Greg and Lou, your other channel too. Yeah.
The Internet TV on Facebook, Lou Perez on Facebook, Greg and Lou on YouTube. It's all there. It's there for you.
Thank you, Lou, for joining us today. If you're enjoying the House of Sunny podcast, please consider becoming a patron over at patreon.com/House of Sunny. A big thanks today to our existing patrons. Next week, our guest is comedian Michael Loftus. Call the show and leave a voice message at 707-681-5834. If it's funny, I might play it on the air. See you next week. Thanks, Lou.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the House of Sunny podcast. Go check out Sunny on YouTube at her channel, House of Sunny. Everything Sunny does is fan-funded. And because she's likely to get kicked off and demonetized on every platform at some point, please support her over at patreon.com/House of Sunny. Become one of Sunny's elite squad and have access to behind-the-scenes footage, t-shirts, special events, and more.